I didn't necessarily come downtown because other projects were coming up. I just studied the location and was able to envision a successful restaurant at that corner. I remember standing in front, across the street from my location, and it wasn't a nice, beautiful site. But after studying the location, I was able to convert it and in my mind see it. A lot of people didn't understand why it took so long because they thought it was going to be just a little tiny little restaurant. But when we opened, the first thing everybody did is like, wow, where did this place come from? The whole place is called Tequila Museo Mayagüez, and then within the restaurant or within the concept, or call it a museum, I have exhibits, and the kitchen is an exhibit. Definitely this is something I've wanted to do, and I wasn't going to let anything stop me.
5 years from now, anybody and everybody will be doing it, and you're just one of the herd that's migrating into the West. I mean, but if you want to be Lewis and Clark, your window is closing rapidly. So you have to find those explorers. You have to find Lewis and Clarks. And that's what I found with Sports Basement and Dave Rumberg. You know, he's one of those people. He's Lewis and Clark, and there is no farther west in Sacramento than downtown. We're taking a 60,000-foot empty building on I Street between 7th and 8th, and we're turning it into, hopefully, what is going to be a catalyst retailer for the whole urban core. We have to strengthen that core. There is no real robust, top tier 1 city in America that doesn't have a strong, culturally dynamic downtown.
We came to Sacramento about 5 years ago originally. We went back to what we were doing. We got a phone call from the same broker, said, hey, we found an opportunity, you might be interested now. Came and looked at the building, the opportunities, and realized that downtown was developing. Very, very clearly, we got bookended by some great folks. Just the quality was a big factor to us, that Sacramento was conscious of quality and willing to spend on quality. We're very happy and proud of the opportunity to be a part of a resurgence of street. And I think we're all going to benefit because in order to get people to travel a long distance and change the mindset of blight, it's going to take a multitude of venues and a multitude of reasons to come. Not a threesome, a foursome, or a fivesome. We're just going to be the beginning of a hundredsome.
You know, my father started the music circus in 1951. And that has been a real source of pride for the community here in Sacramento, but also what it's done is to help develop an audience for musical theater here in our region. It's important, I think, for folks to understand musical theater is actually one of very few American art forms. And certainly my father and his partner had a long tradition of producing theater here in the United States. And so starting the music circus in 1951 represented a real visionary step for them. In the fall of 2008, we took yet another step in moving musical theater forward here in Sacramento, and that was we opened our Cosmopolitan Cabaret at the corner of 10th and K. Sacramento is really its own area. We are our own region. And we were able to then work with, for instance, the producers at Disney to bring in The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast. Sacramento is very well known now as a solid market for these large shows. In fact, we finally have coming up our first production of Wicked. We'll be playing in Sacramento next May and June. There's new businesses that are coming out and realizing that the arts are an economic driver. You know, for every $1 that you spend on a theater ticket, well, that's going to spin $3 off into the community. So, you know, in that instance, if I look at $800,000 that we just did on Shrek at the Community Center Theater, well, that's $2.4 million spread into the community. The music circus in downtown Sacramento since 1951 is a Sacramento tradition.
I've always been fascinated by downtowns, and I've always had this vision for our downtown.
So there's an irreplaceable intangible cultural quality about those locations.
This is the resurgence and comeback and will probably end up as one of the country's great comeback stories.
Every region needs a heart, and as far as I'm concerned, the heart of our region is downtown Sacramento. And what I do with bringing musical theater, I think, is something that's very important to keeping that heart beating.